What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Built for Life. I'm Joel, and today we're taking a look back at my Harbor Freight dust collection system. It's been about a year since I made all the upgrades and mounted this thing on the wall, and since then I have used it a lot. And I've really picked up some of the things that are good, bad, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at all the good, the bad, the ugly, and hopefully answer some questions that have come up on the last two videos where I made the upgrades and mounted this all on the wall. So if you haven't checked out those two videos, I'll put a link down in the description to those two and put a card somewhere along here in the video. So if you're just joining us, to take a look back at how we got to this point, what I did was take a Harbor Freight dust collector, the 2.5 horsepower, 35-gallon central machinery dust collection system. I put a Donaldson filter on it to help with the air quality. I also put a Wen Turbo Fan impeller in it to improve the airflow. I then took the whole thing apart off the roll around stand, mounted it, well, dropped it on the floor and bent it all to shit. Eventually I got it fixed and all mounted up on the wall. I added the Oneida Dust Deputy Cyclone separator with the barrel, and as well as the ducting over to the CNC table. So to take a look at the good, bad, the ugly, I'm going to go ahead, we're going to start it off with the ugly, and we're going to take a look at this stand right here. So the ugly in this system, I have to say, is this stand right here. I built it towards the end of doing this whole system. I built it with scrap wood because I really didn't know what the final product was going to look like, and it's worked fine. I don't like how it's kind of in the way of the window, but at the same time, I'm in a 2-car garage. Floor space is premium. Wall space is premium, so I just haven't had enough problems with it to rebuild this stand and make it to what it should be at its final stage. Some things that I've definitely learned, if you're going to do your dust collection system with a separator and a barrel, is that the way I have to pull this thing off is unlatch it and kind of like wedge it out. You really need something that lifts and lowers to hold this barrel in place. I've got some ideas for it. I just haven't had the time to tackle it. There's just been more important things come up, and moving back to this dust collection system hasn't been one of them. So in all of this, this is the ugliest part about this. I'm not happy with it, but it works and it gets it done. So another issue that I have with this stand and the location of the Cyclone, kind of halfway in front of this window, is this 5-inch hose. At the time of when I put all this together, I could not find a piece of 5-inch flexible hose that was going to be here in a timely manner, or that was ridiculously priced, because the shortest thing I could find was like 20 foot. So I went with what I had. I have since found a 5-inch flexible hose. It's available on Grizzly Industrial. I think it was a 10-foot section for like $20 or $30. I'll throw a link in the description to where I found that. But there have been, since I did this, I've found multiple locations where I can buy a shorter piece of that 5-inch flexible hose. So this shouldn't be an issue. The only issue now is just finding the time and the motivation to lift that heavy ass motor and move it around, especially knowing that what happened the last time I did it. Babe, hurry! All right, so we covered the ugly. Now let's look at the bad. When I installed the WEN Turbo Fan in my first initial video, I had the dust collection system plugged into a power strip. That power strip was built to handle 15 amps. When I was running the whole video, running the dust collection system off that circuit, off that power strip, and then after installing the WEN Turbo Fan, I noticed it started popping the circuit breaker on that power strip. Well, it wasn't that concerning to me. The specifications for this machine says it is a 15 amp machine, and that 15 amps is at the max for the power strip that I was using. So, but after plugging it in to the wall, in the garage, like straight to the wall, bypassing that power strip, it worked fine. So I knew that the increased weight of that WEN Turbo Fan definitely increased the amp draw from the motor. But what I didn't know is how much it was drawing. So I bought this little tool right here. So this just plugs into the outlet, and it will measure the electricity of anything that flows through it in volts, watts, amperage, watt hours. It's actually a pretty cool tool. I've used it on pretty much every machine that I have in here now, just to see what the amp draw is on it and have an idea. It would also be really cool because you can actually program your price per watt hour into this machine or this little tool, and run that machine, and it will tell you, how much it costs, how much electricity is costing you to run that machine. So if you ran a business, you could actually see what your exact cost is for the power to produce whatever you're producing with whatever machine you're running. But I bought it to see what the amp draw is and the steady state amp draw of this machine is while I'm operating. So this cord right here runs directly to the dust collector, and when I plug it in, it'll tell you, what the amp draw is. So you can see when you plug it in, it spikes up to about 22 amps and then comes for about half a second and then comes right back down to about 10 and a half amps. Now this is the bad because my garage is wired on one 20 amp circuit. I do have plans to put in a 30 amp circuit in the near future, but I haven't done that yet. So what that means is I can't have any other tool running on this circuit when I initially plug this in. Now, once I plug this in and it drops down 10 and a half amps, I can have no problem running my planer, my CNC, and other tools at the same time. It's totally fine. But it is a pain. Now, I don't know what the initial spike with the old impeller is. I didn't measure it. I didn't have this tool at the time. If you have the ability to have one that's a factory machine, and have the ability to get one of these and measure it yourself and see what the spike is, leave that in the comments. That way we'll know what the increase in amp draw was from the factory to the upgraded WEN Turbo Fan. Now, I know this is probably going to reduce the lifespan of that motor. That's speculation, though. I don't know that, and I don't know how long this machine would have ran in its stock configuration. So all I know is that it's working and it's doing exactly what I wanted it to do. And with a new circuit put in, a new 30 amp circuit put in, I won't have any issues with it. All right, now for some of the good. This Oneida Dust Deputy, 10 out of 10, recommend. I don't think I will ever have a dust collection system that is not running some sort of cyclone dust separator. This one right here had great reviews, and that's what made me buy it. I wholeheartedly stand by it. It is a great kit. It comes with the screws, the flange, everything to mount it on top of a barrel or a bucket or whatever you want. 10 out of 10, definitely recommend. The next thing that's good, this Donaldson filter upgrade, 10 out of 10 recommend. I don't have the tiny, minute particle dust that you would normally see in a woodworking shop sitting on surfaces unless I'm doing something where my dust collection is not involved. If I'm running the table saw or my miter saw, which I don't have dust collection on either one of those, then that's when I will see that small, tiny particulate dust start to accumulate on surfaces. That filter, for the cost, I would not run a Harbor Freight machine or any other dust collection machine without one of these big filters like that. It doesn't have to be Donaldson. There are tons of other people that make these kits. You can even buy the other brand names of dust collections with those filters on those. Some of them do have the bag, and from my experience with those bags and everything I've seen, I would not run one of those bags just from the risk of inhaling all that small particulate dust. It's just not worth it. It's an easy upgrade. 10 out of 10 recommend. So the next thing I want to point out about the system that I'm happy with, and I'm glad I made this decision, and tends to be a huge conversation when it comes up online, is I chose HVAC metal ducting to run my my air system, and for a couple reasons. Now, I read all manner of articles and watched YouTube videos, and there are some very opinionated people when it comes to this section, and that's fine. I mean, I stumbled across arguing in comment sections that blew my mind, why people would get so upset and so heated about ducting for a dust collection system. Crazy. But there are a couple reasons why I chose to go with HVAC ducting. And that is, I didn't really know, A, what I was doing, and B, how I wanted this all to look when I was done. So it didn't make sense to me to spend $200 to $600 buying connectors and clamps and duct runs from, this really expensive places when all I needed to do was pull air, So I didn't want to spend that money, get it all set up and be like, no, I don't like this. I want to change it. And then have to turn around and spend more money. It just didn't make sense to me, especially when I can go to the local hardware store. I can buy this, what is this, 4-foot section, 5-foot section, 6-foot section of 4-inch ducting for 16, 17 bucks. And this universal elbow for $7, and I can run my system. At the end of the day, I'm out less than $50, and if it all sucked, then I only lost 50 bucks. So it just made sense to me, and I didn't know how it was going to work from all the opinions that you see online. I expect just about half expected this thing to not work at all once I got it put up. However, it works fine. It works great. Now, when I did put this together, I did use ducting tape on the seams to seal it. I used clear silicone in areas where you had this corrugated portion to make it slip in. I also made sure that when I was putting this all together, that the flow of the air never ran into a ledge. What that means is where this gets inserted to another pipe, I never had the air flowing into that groove. I always keep the air flowing so that it will come off that groove. Hopefully that made some improvements on all this. Like I feel like that was the right way to do it. It makes sense to me, and it's working for my setup now. So granted, I'm in a 2-car garage. It's not running very far. It's got 2 sections of metal pipe and then the flex hose down to my CNC, and it's working great. Now, one question that I've gotten a lot from my other videos is how much flow loss did I get from the cyclone dust collector, and I didn't measure it, but I am going to measure it today at the end of this run. So that's with the cyclone dust collector connected, this ducting, and the flex hose all the way down to the CNC. We're going to take a look at that right now and pull a measurement and see what kind of CFM we're getting out of it. All right, I got my anemometer. We're going to turn this thing on, see what kind of wind speed we're getting, and then I'll use the an online calculator to see what kind of CFM we're getting. Okay, so we just measured it. I got the best I got was about 60 miles per hour. Now I did correct myself. Thanks for the comments in the other one. I measured around the edge of the pipe like this because people pointed out in the comments of my other video which it made sense after I looked at it. If I measure here, then the mass that is taking up here is kind of reducing the size of the pipe, which it makes sense. You know, the more I cover it up, the faster it's going to get. So it doesn't matter for that video because all those were taken in the same place, and we weren't looking for accurate measurements, just step ups and step downs. But this one got from measuring around the edge, so should be decently accurate. 60 miles per hour, which is about 460 CFM. The original measurement taken from the inlet of the dust collector, so right down there at it, was 102 miles per hour or 1220 CFM. So what's that? 500, 600, 700. So a total loss somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 to 800 CFM, about half CFM lost by adding the dust collector or the cyclone separator and all the piping. All in all, this thing at my CNC does everything I needed it to do, and I have plenty of flow and plenty of suction. In some cases, too much suction because it wants to pull stuff out of the material and pull big chunks out of the material and send it all the way through the dust collector. So all in all, I think it's great. Okay, now for my favorite part about this whole system. When I originally bought stuff for the ducting, remember, I didn't know how I wanted everything to go. I had originally planned on putting a Y in and then bringing it over to the center of the garage and adding a gate here by the garage door motor. And in haste, I just put up the one run and ran it above the CNC because I was trying to get my CNC up and running. I had some jobs that I had already promised and I needed to get to work. So I just went up with my original idea of putting it to the CNC, of just doing it to the CNC with intentions of coming back later and doing a Y to a gate to the middle of the garage so I could use for other tools. So to put it over to the CNC, this is what I did. All right, so to allow this hose to move back and forth for the full length of the CNC, so it would be able to move with the spindle wherever it moved, I installed this guy here. So what that is a section of unistrut that you can get at any hardware store. And then inside it, rolling in on this as a track, there's a little trolley in there. And I've connected a bungee strap right here that holds the weight off the hose. And that allows this hose to move all the way back there and all the way over here. Now this is an 8-foot section, so it actually comes out past my CNC about 2 foot. Now that lets me take this hose all the way to the center of my garage. And that has been the best upgrade I have this whole time. This has been the best thing, and I'll show you why. So what this unistrut and trolley system have allowed me to do is, with the CNC machine all hooked up, if I want to run another machine that requires dust collection, I can slide my nesting table out, and then using just the wing nut hose clamp on my 4-inch hose, just that guy, I can swing it out, hook it right up to my planer, and then I can run my planer here, I can run my jointer here, or any other tool that I might want to run dust collection on. And that is the best setup I've done. It's so much better to me than having more pipes ran and gates and having hose stored in areas. So I'd come and connect it and then connect it here. I didn't know when I set this up that it was going to work like that, and it has been great. So if you are in a small shop setup or even a big shop and you have an area that you could run something like this, totally recommend it. It cuts down on the elbows, it cuts down on the gates. I have no gates in my system, just one hose, and it takes 2 seconds to move it from there to there. I don't have the plug-in connections because I want to keep the weight on my CNC low, so I don't want to put one of those big push connectors on there. For this, it works great. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope it answered a lot of questions that I received in the comments in the last videos. If you have any more questions, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to get to them. If you like this video, consider hitting that thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything. If you want to see more content like this, hey, consider hitting that subscribe button. We're trying to put out good stuff here. And if you want to continue the conversation, there's a link down in the description to Facebook group. There's a link down in the description to Instagram, and there's also links in the description to the stuff that you've seen on this video, the upgrades to the dust collection system, a couple other videos that I always get questions about, which is the table that the CNC machine's sitting on. All those links are in the description, and if the questions don't get answered in the description, leave it in the comments. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you on the next one.